Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for attending this webinar today. My name is Stephen Perry. I am here with Pleasant Holidays, the sales trainer for Pleasant Holidays. And today, as you all know, I am going to be talking about Northern Europe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over our Europe brochure cover, basically, and just some overview so you get an idea of what we have in Europe. And then I'm going to just focus on Northern Europe, talk about the different cities or countries that we offer there, what they're known for, what type of clientele goes there, some things you can do. And then also you will see a lot of just kind of fun facts, which really help give you an idea about the lifestyles there, or is just kind of fun information as we go along. So to start, just want to go over who we are here with Pleasant Holidays. We work with your cruise co-specialists and really help put all of your trips together, every little detail that you're looking for. Within Europe, we have 16 different countries and 54 cities that we offer there, 295 different hotels, resorts, and villas. It's very European to have breakfast included, so that's very common there. And then we also do have the option to put everything together, air inclusive, so has your airs, transfers or cars, hotel, activities, put everything into one package for you. And we even have some rail tickets. Also, 164 different activities to choose from. I know that if you're going over to Europe, you're probably going to be booking activities. So it just makes it easy to go ahead and pre-book those so you're guaranteed space and good space, and you really don't have to worry about it once you get there. This is obviously a map of Europe, and we're only going to be talking about the Northern Europe parts. Basically, what we offer will be like Ireland, Scotland, and England, Amsterdam within the Netherlands. Northern Germany is technically, but I'm just going to go over Germany in general. Also, Denmark or Copenhagen will be in there as well. And on each one of these highlights, I will have a map just to make sure that everyone understands exactly where it is we're talking about, because obviously Copenhagen is part of Denmark, which you can see on that map on the right-hand side of your screen. Copenhagen is right where that red blip is. So that's good to know exactly where it will be. And for me, Copenhagen is one of my favorites. And I was trying to think about, well, what is Copenhagen? Who goes there? Why do you go there? And there's a lot of different reasons. It's beautiful. It's actually ranked as the happiest place on earth many times. Also one of the best places to live. So you have a beautiful country that's obviously known for amazing food, like Danish pastries with your coffee, for example. And it's really, really happy. Now, I currently actually live in Washington State, and one thing that I hear a lot about is, oh, it rains so much, everyone's depressed. Well, in Copenhagen, it rains or snows every second day. So, on average, about 171 days with precipitation. Yet it's still the happiest place on earth. So that's starting to prove what I've heard about my own place as wrong, that it can still be very happy. Now, just some general information about Copenhagen. It is the capital as well as the most populous city in Denmark. I've already mentioned it's the happiest and best place to live, or at least ranked that way many times. Now, one thing that's pretty awesome about Copenhagen and Denmark in general is 55% of Copenhageners cycle to work or just get around on their bike. So the majority of people there are riding their bicycle everywhere. Now, that's pretty awesome. That is also the biggest safety concern there will be the bicycles. So be careful when you're walking around in the bicycle lane. Just some things to know about going to Copenhagen. It can be considered somewhat expensive. So keep that in mind. But it's when you go to Copenhagen, they're really focused on obviously being happy and relaxed and cozy. They actually have a word for cozy that's pronounced huga, and that is an actual word that they strive for in their daily life, which means cozy. And what cozy is just picture like organic wool, make sure it's organic wool sweaters, hats with ear covers on them, a nice fireplace in like an older wooden building. Like that's exactly what they strive for. That makes them happy. And it makes me happy too. Being able to enjoy that with a nice ale, pretty nice life. I could definitely see myself doing that on a daily basis. Some other things to keep in mind though, most shops only will take cards with a PIN number. So that means debit cards. Most American credit cards will not be accepted at most places there. Some European credit cards will, but in general, they want either cash or a card with a PIN number. Um, Now, one other thing that makes Copenhagen really popular is the food. And I've already mentioned, pastries great. All know Danish pastries, but they love their food there. And there's a lot of the top restaurants in the world, including the number one in the world, where you only have about a 1 in 200 chance to get into that restaurant. It's called Noma, but they are famous for their food in general, including what they call sausage wagons, which we know as hot dogs. But they're very different and amazing. You could find those pretty much on any street there. Definitely something you want to check out. Also, really important to know that when you're in Denmark or Copenhagen, most of the locals will understand and be able to speak English. So it makes it really easy and convenient for you. Now, I just want to show you some photos so you can get an idea of what it looks like in Copenhagen. The different shopping areas, as you can see in the bottom right there, that's some outdoor shopping venues. Shopping is also very popular there. Lots of water, lots of ships, good looking wooden ships, also castles, very popular as well. This photo that just came up is actually the most famous statue there. It is titled The Little Mermaid. And then again, another look of some outdoor shops that you would expect walking around in Copenhagen. And then, of course, I mentioned, with the Huga, they really enjoy a nice ale. Denmark is very popular for beer. This is a look at their most famous brewery. I apologize. So, of course, when you're in Copenhagen, definitely try some of the beer. Next up is Amsterdam. Now you'll see that these are not in alphabetical order or any order in particular, other than I'm just trying to keep different areas that I feel are similar together. So Amsterdam is up next because it has a lot of the same features in terms of food, that Danish feel to it, beautiful buildings, overall very similar feel in terms of that goes. And then if you look at Amsterdam compared with Copenhagen, they're polar opposites. So they're the same yet they're different. You have Copenhagen that you can kind of consider that upscale, cozier Huga as mentioned place, and then you have Amsterdam, which is a little bit more of the fun, still upscale, but a little bit more fun part compared to the Copenhagen. Not as relaxed. Some basics about Amsterdam. It is the capital of the Netherlands. There's actually 165 canals in Amsterdam. That's very important, and I'm going to go over why in just a moment. There's also something you may have seen on television or in photos that's very unique, and it's called the tilted houses. A lot of Americans refer to. They're actually really known as dancing houses. Now, what these are, I actually have a photo on the next slide that you can see them is they're older buildings. And in Amsterdam, they tend to be large or tall buildings, tall and narrow. And when they were built, the quality of wood just was not as good as other areas. And all the homes are touching, so they're fine as long as no one does any renovations. Once renovations start, major renovations, it oftentimes will make all of those homes, or at least some of them, tilt sideways. So very unique, kind of scary, but of course they are stabilized. You will be able to see that here in just a moment. Now, I talked about in Copenhagen the use of bikes. Same thing in Amsterdam. Most locals use their bikes to get around. There's actually 12,000 annual bike wrecks fished out of the canals. So every single year, 12,000 bicycles from bike wrecks are fished out of their canals there. So there's 165 canals. There's people flying around on bikes. Bicycle is actually the quickest way to travel in Amsterdam. So because there's less traffic, there's specific bike lanes, but they fly around on bicycles. So avoid the bike lanes at all costs unless you're on one. That is actually funny to say the most dangerous part about Amsterdam. Now, you can't really get around Amsterdam. There's always questions about it. Marijuana is legal, prostitution is legal. They have the red light district. That is a big part of Amsterdam. In a place like that, you would think there could be lots of danger, but honestly, the most danger is from bicycles. It's a very, very, very safe city. Now, some things to know. I'm going to start with going back to the safety. Even though it is very safe, keep in mind, and crime is very low in Amsterdam, pickpocketing is still a commonplace in any large city, really worldwide. So just keep that in mind. It's very safe, but just keep an eye on your belongings when you go, as you should in any city. Um, Also important to know is that many of the buildings in Amsterdam do have very steep and narrow stairs. So plan that, wear appropriate shoes, and be ready to climb any stairs if you're going into any of the more historical sites or hotels. Very important to carry cash or be prepared to use an ATM regularly. Many of the non-European credit cards are not accepted or they are not compatible. Now, I need to also point out something that's very confusing. A coffee shop and a cafe are extremely different. If you are looking for your coffee in the morning, like I would be, and you go into a coffee shop, that is not what you're looking for. A coffee shop is where you would buy marijuana. A cafe is where you can buy your coffee. So please make note of that for when you travel. It could be very confusing once, and then you learn. Also, in the red light district, there is no cameras allowed. Photos. Here's the tilted houses or the dancing houses, as I should say. You can see, some of those houses there are actually angled slightly, and that's exactly what I'm referring to. You can find these really throughout the city. It's pretty unique. Just some other views. Pretty, canals are everywhere, as I mentioned. Plenty of different places to lock up a bicycle should you have one there. Very pretty skies, the homes, the rooftops, the trees. Again, canals everywhere you go, which really makes great settings. It's nice to be able to sit out of a cafe and relax and enjoy the views. Next up is going to be England, probably what the majority of us are most familiar with here. As we probably all know, the capital of England is London. England is the birthplace of Shakespeare, the Beatles, also Harry Potter series. Um, Nowhere, a cool little fact that I did not know, nowhere in England or even the United Kingdom is over 70 miles from sea. So you can easily get to the ocean from anywhere within England, within 70 miles at the furthest point. That's pretty unique. That's actually excellent. I know a lot of us in the US would love to only be 70 miles from sea. Um, it's also said that there's a sense of history in every part of England, and that's something that I can definitely imagine. I think you all can as well. There's so much history within England, so many different castles, so many landmarks, so much history. You can find it anywhere. I don't even personally have a specific part within England that I would want to go to most. Some things to know about England: everyone loves tea. That's also pretty widely understood. Um, Something else is the shining sun is basically a holiday. Now, don't let me confuse you, though weather there is oftentimes overcast. It's not like the sun never comes out, but when it does come out, you will start seeing the locals outside. They love the sun, they want to be outside, they want to enjoy it. Something, again, I can also really appreciate. Food in England is world class, at least nowadays. So I used to consider England as having just very basic, bland food. I mean, yeah, we know fish and chips, right? Other than that, the only other kind of food I thought of too much in England was beer and Indian food, which I love all that food. That's great. But, when you think of top food places in the world, I never really thought about England in the past. That's all changed. They have so many of the top restaurants, food from all over the world within England. There's just endless, endless options for you. It's really becoming a mecca of for foodies. Something kind of funny that I heard from one of my friends who's British, who's only lived here for about 5 or 6 years, is avoid eye contact or conversation in public or on public transportation. Not because it's dangerous by any means, it's just not common. If you start a conversation with somebody on public transportation, they're going to be a little weirded out. It's just not something that's really done there. It doesn't mean you really need to avoid it so much as understand it if you go and want to strike up conversation on public transportation. They may not know how to handle it initially. Some photos of England, again, a country that most of us are very familiar with. It's beautiful, it's got lots of history. It's also got some of the best coastlines, really, out of any country in the world. It can oftentimes be overcast or even foggy, which gives it its own sense of beauty as well. Of course, you have places like Buckingham Palace and many other different sites as well. Again, lots of castle options that you can visit throughout the entire country as well. And of course, very famous bridges. Now, one thing I wanted to touch base on here or just show is London Rail, just very briefly, not so much London Rail as go over the Channel Tunnel. I get this question a lot. I think that most people hear about the Channel Tunnel, but don't know if it's actually a thing or if it was made up. It does exist. There is a Channel Tunnel. There is a train that basically will take you from England into France. It's the duration is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Pretty unique and awesome if you have a chance to do that. Next up is Ireland. Again, a pretty common destination for everyone. We hear about Ireland a lot within the United States. Obviously, lots of different holidays started based either in Ireland or based off of some Irish tales. We all know St. Patrick's Day, obviously Valentine's Day, even Halloween was somehow based on a holiday. I read about it, but I've forgotten specifics. It is based on a holiday that started in Ireland. So that's something I did not know. Dublin is the capital of Ireland. Ireland is known as the Emerald Isle, and it's basically because it's green year round. Irish people speak English today. The schools also do teach their students Gaelic, which is their, traditional language. Ireland is also considered one of the best places on earth for gender equality, which is excellent. They're very with the times, and it's a very progressive country. Also, a little fun fact that I did not know, two of these actually. The submarine was invented in Ireland. Who would have guessed that? And then this one's kind of funny, is there's more Guinness sold in Nigeria than there is in Ireland. Their famous beer that they brew in Ireland, mostly sold in Nigeria over Ireland. That's pretty funny. I got a kick out of that. It's great beer though, so the world does drink it. Some different things to know. Currency is different between Northern and Southern Ireland. Basically, you have the pound or the euro. So depending on where you are, the currency will be different. The good news is you can use cards throughout Ireland, so you really won't have to use it too much. You don't necessarily need to carry cash around. Irish people are very friendly and they love to talk. However, that's usually after the conversation is started. So if you're there, don't expect everyone to come talk to you. They are known to be very friendly, so that could be confusing when you get there if people aren't coming up trying to talk to you. But if you start conversation with them, they quickly warm up and they will talk and talk and talk and be more welcoming than pretty much anywhere else. In Dublin, buses will not stop unless you flag them down. So if you're waiting for a bus, that might be very frustrating when you see buses going by you. They will only stop to let somebody off, or if you flag them down saying that you want that bus. So keep that in mind for your public transportation there. Some photos of Ireland. Again, we've seen so much of Ireland in movies, on the internets, wherever. Lots of castle options. Very green. I mean, this is Ireland. This is Ireland year round. It is green. It's green and it's beautiful. Um, they will actually, I've heard that many of the different rivers, they will actually, just like they do in Chicago, also dye green or make look green with lights, especially during like St. Patrick's Day and other holidays. Coastline is beautiful. Lots of cathedrals and churches. Just a look at how some of the towns will actually look. It's very much, again, like we see in movies and on television today. Next up is Scotland. Scotland is our most recent addition on for Pleasant Holidays. We've just launched Scotland this year. It's a beautiful destination, and we're happy to be a part of it and offer it to you going forward. A little bit about Scotland. Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland. It is not Edinburgh. It is Edinburgh. Scotland is part of the United Kingdom, and it has actually 790 islands. Out of that 790, 130 are inhabited. Now, we do not offer options for every one of those 130, but it's pretty cool to know. I had no idea there was that many islands and that many different inhabited islands. Little fun fact, the first recorded sighting of the Loch Ness Monster was in Scotland in 565 AD. So if you're familiar with the Loch Ness Monster or you've at least heard about it, that is in Scotland at Lake Loch Ness. So if you want to go to Scotland, take a Loch Ness tour, see Lake Loch Ness, maybe you'll have a chance to see that elusive Loch Ness Monster. Some things to know: get used to the word wow. You will use it a lot in Scotland. It is considered one of the most beautiful places on earth. And when you look at photos from Scotland, you will easily see why. It's very unique. I like to compare it to New Zealand or parts of New Zealand. I think they can be very similar at times, just very beautiful and has a little bit of everything. Scotland is known for some of the friendliest as well as most intelligent people. This is actually something to point out because I think we've all known that Scotland is known for friendly people. I had no idea how high tech Scotland was and how at the forefront of technology they really are. They are highly educated. The majority of the population goes to university. And so you're going to be talking to some very friendly and intelligent people there. I really had no idea before I really learned more about Scotland. Something that's pretty cool in Scotland is it is free to roam. Now, what that really means is that it's there's no such thing as trespassing, with exception, of course, to someone's house. You can't just go sit on their porch or use their barbecue or whatever, or like gardens or private gardens or military bases, of course. But if you want to go onto countryside or farmland, you're allowed to. The country does not believe in trespassing in that case. It's everyone's land, whether it's owned or not. It is everyone's land, and you're allowed to go on those farms and countrysides and enjoy yourself. Most tourists, they come to Scotland for the scenery, of course. Again, lots and lots and lots of castles, some very famous ones. So great scenery there. Golf was invented in Scotland. It has some of the top world-class golf links anywhere in the world. Or festivals. Scotland has so many different festivals to choose from. The majority of the festivals are going to be over the spring and summer months, mainly summer. That's when the weather is the nicest. However, they do have some throughout the year. Peak travel, again, will be, of course, in the summer months. Try to pre-book the festivals if you're going for them. Most of their festivals, like the military tattoo, does sell out almost a year in advance. So you really want to pre-book that. Every time's good to go though. Just plan cloudy with a chance of sun in general, even rainy as well, especially in the winter months. It can get cold or rain really at any time of year. Some photos, of course, we all know about Scottish bagpipes, very unique and beautiful. You can stay at your resort and oftentimes have in the morning or in the evenings the bagpipes to either wake you up or put you to sleep. Don't worry, nothing too early or too late. Lots of train travel within Scotland, cathedrals, beautiful cathedrals like this one here. Also, again, many different castles, large and small that are within Scotland. There's a lot of different tour options that you can take there to see these. And again, very green and very beautiful. Now, in terms of destinations go, last that I have is Germany. After Germany, I'm just going to highlight a couple cruise options, and then I will be all done with everybody. Germany is another one of my favorite destinations. It has a lot of history, as we know, both good and bad. But today, a lot of people don't realize what kind of a country it is. It is accepting of all people. It's welcoming of all people. They are very friendly. Now, we'll talk a little bit about, the German kind of personality here, but they are generally very friendly. They want visitors. They believe in equal rights for everything. Very, very, very progressive country. Really the leading country in Europe, one of the leading countries within the world. The capital of Germany is Berlin. Germany is the most populated country within the European Union. Germany has over 700 wildlife parks. They are very focused on conservation as well. Things like recycling, you have to recycle in Germany. If you're seen throwing away something that could be recycled when there is obvious recycling bins everywhere, you will probably get some rude comments your way. Very focused on conservation. Weather will vary significantly from northern to southern Germany. That makes it kind of hard to plan if you're looking at Germany in whole. Just look at the weather for the time of year to the specific city that you're going to, because it could change entirely going from north to south. And Germany has one of the highest education ratings within the world. Very educated people, very tech savvy, as we know, make lots of great products, and they export lots of cars. They are the leading nation for both export and import in terms of that. Some things to know about Germany: most shops will be closed on holidays and all Sundays. That's pretty important to go if you're planning on doing some shopping on a Sunday or a holiday. Odds are it's going to be closed. Also, respect all of the rules in Germany. It's little things that we don't always think about in the United States, like jaywalking. If you're jaywalking, you will definitely get some people honking at you, or at least their jaws will drop. Like, it's just not something you see very common there. Also, when you ride bicycles, you are expected to have both a front and back light on your bicycle. Without it, it's definitely very frowned upon, and it's for your own safety. Definitely want to carry cash. Many vendors will only accept cash, especially in some of the smaller towns within Germany. And then many of these small restaurants you go to will only have sausage or meats on their menu. It's not a joke. If you go to a small restaurant within Germany, that is very common that is all you will find. That said, cuisine is very, very, very popular in Germany. They also love their food just as much as they love their beer, so you can get some amazing meals there. Um, it is common for locals to speak English in Berlin. However, when you leave Berlin, it is not as common. English and German is very different. And just don't expect the rest of Germany to have that many people that understand English. You could pretty much get around with the basic words, and they'll understand those, but it's not as widely spoken as some of the other countries that we've discussed. In general, though, Germany, their personalities, little quirks, they love visitors. I have another friend who is German, who's only been here a handful of years. I just spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he said he's considering moving back to Germany. The thing is, he made a funny comment that started a conversation. He made a comment about being single, going back to Germany, and how hard it is for a German man to meet a German woman there. Because apparently, because I thought that was funny. Well, how is that? Apparently, when you are German and you go to a bar or a restaurant, for example, wherever, they do not talk. You don't talk to the person next to you. It's weird. You only communicate with people you know. That said, they love tourists. If you are a tourist and go into Germany and you start conversation, they'll be very polite and interested in you and want to have a deep conversation. But it's kind of funny to think about how just, the little different cultures that you experience in a lot of these countries, including Germany. As far as photos go, again, lots of history, of course, within Germany. It's very much, again, a leading nation. So you have lots of technology. You have modern buildings and skyscrapers. You can see some here or one here. But then you also have lots of history as well, whether it be, World War I, World War II, or concentration camps. You can do lots of different tours for those, or you can just go and experience the food, the drinks, the culture. There's endless options for you in Germany. Lastly, before I go, I wanted to just make you aware of a few of the different cruising options there. AMA Waterways, Iceland Pro Cruise, Norwegian Cruise Line, and Windstar. Basically, it ranges from more traditional cruises that you guys are aware of to cruises that would include like sails on a smaller boats, to river cruises like you would have at the top photo there, that funny looking long boats, very common for river cruises. And then Iceland Pro Cruise is another great one that really encourages off boats, excursions, and activities. So there's lots and lots and lots of options within Europe for cruises, including pre and post cruise hotel stays. If you are going on a cruise and you want to extend and stay at a hotel, see different cities, we can definitely help you with that, as well as any sightseeing tours and excursions. So with that, I want to say thank you all very much for taking time out of your day to listen to this webinar. It's greatly appreciated, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your week and enjoy planning your next Europe vacation.